organizations to, first of all, measure and report to us a baseline of where their current emissions are at. We run a lot of events to help them learn about how to actually reduce their emissions. We connect them to the environmental professionals in our community to get the work done. And then what this is all about is actually recognizing those organizations in our community who've made quantified progress towards their actual goals. And so we have two membership types. The first we call observing organizations. These are firms that might not have committed to a reduction target as of yet, but are learning about it, working towards it, and maybe even working with a third-party group to report their emissions too. We also have what we call pledging partners. These are those firms that have made a voluntary public commitment with us and are now working against that. On this slide, we also have our milestone guide that sets out the process whereby we help our organizations to work towards reductions over time and try to make it as simple and as clear as possible to do exactly that. So I'm happy to say that on page 2 of the report, we have our members listed from the past year. There's some signage at the event just outside here that lists their actual commitments. But on this slide are 6 pledging partners as of the end of 2009 and 4 observing organizations. I'll get into more about all of the work they've done in just a few. So what is this report to us? Well, first of all, it's a huge milestone. I'm glad you can all be a part of it here with us, where now for the first time we can go back to the community and share the quantified progress we've seen amongst our member organizations. And so I hope you all have a chance to either read the report in print or an electronic copy online. We're all really proud of it. So I'm glad that you have a copy of it now. So what's in this actual report then? Well, it celebrates the commitments and the accomplishments of each member of the Regional Carbon Initiative specifically, and then it also shows the leadership shown collectively amongst organizations across our region. It's chock full of member profiles, quotes from folks across our community, vignettes from in and outside of Waterloo region, and there's not one stock picture in it. Every photo in the report is from a photo contest we ran over the last few months or from our events over the past year. In fact, the winners are on the back cover, and page 29 has a list of all the credits of the different pictures that are there. And I think even many of the photographers are here with us. 2 of the winners are definitely here with us. So we think that's really great. So in the report, we talk about 3 main themes. And this is on page 1 where we start to talk about that. And those themes are education, will, and action. So I'm going to walk through each of those themes in brief here. So when it comes to education, today our events are the main means whereby we help to educate our membership base. And as you heard me say just a few minutes ago, this is where we bring our environmental experts and business leaders, politicians, and academics all in the same room to come together and share their own best practices and lessons and learning and create a dialogue towards that. In 2009, we learned about LEED buildings, we learned about GHG inventories, low-impact commuting options, and we heard inspirational success stories from within our region and across North America. We had professional speakers come in from Carbon Foresight, Ernst & Young, the City of Cambridge, and IBM. What's more important, or at least equally important as that, though, is the community we've seen develop around this and the number of regular ongoing folks that are coming to these events and learning at least as much from one another as they do from those that are at the front of the room. And I think David started to touch on this. When we have a real community of action that we're building up here, organizations that are a part of this are all working towards carbon reduction goals, and some are at further along processes or actual work towards that, and so they have a lot to learn from one another. The next big theme was will, and the sort of reasons we saw for why organizations joined. And so this is all coming from a survey we sent our membership base just over 2 months ago. First of all, organizations unanimously agreed that actually reputation building was a major reason why they joined. We think this is because they're responding to stakeholder requests on the environmental impact of their operations, and that they're looking to build a reputation on real quantified results rather than marketing spin and some of the greenwashing you and I have both seen. 60% of our members said that cost and employee engagement are major reasons why they're a part, so that they can really bring their entire organization together around this. But what surprised us the most was that we had an other box that organizations could check off. 60% of organizations checked off that box, and they all said the same thing. They either said it was the right thing to do, or that it's our responsibility. And that was equally exciting to us. I think David Williams has a great quote on this side between the actual juxtaposition of the business case and the reason why his organization participates, and then the reason why he participates and what he really gets out of it as an individual. That was really interesting to us. Mm-hmm. And the third theme, of course, is action. And this is where we're really excited to say, well, what's been done over the past year? It's a celebration of the commitments that have been made by organizations across our region. It's a benchmark for the collective progress that these organizations are actually working towards. So first of all, on this slide, we've seen 104 tons of greenhouse gases reduced in 2009, 154 tons reduced since our organization's different collective baselines as far back as 2006, and in total, greenhouse gas reduction commitments of 1,200 tons. 1,200 tons is approximately 212 cars off the road every year. So it's certainly a start. And what more is that we have hundreds of people around a room talking about the same thing. So we really see this as just a beginning or a starting point for where things are going, and I will talk about that towards the end. One of the first questions we often receive are, what are some of the example projects? What have organizations actually been doing? And so this is on pages 8 and 9 of the physical report. Some of the major reduction projects we saw came in the areas of travel and electricity. So let me run through those fairly quickly. In terms of travel emissions, we've seen our organizations pursue alternative transit options. So they are reimbursing public transit passes, participating in the commuter challenge, and recognizing and awarding employees that select alternate transit methods. They're also encouraging lower impact vehicle choices. This means they're giving reimbursement for hybrid vehicle purchases and preferred parking spots for carpoolers. They're also lowering travel demands by opening regional offices and investing in telecommunications and teleconferencing equipment. On the electricity side, first of all, education and conservation. So they're installing electric sub-meters to get detailed information on what their current energy demand actually is. They're also on the efficiency side, switching to energy-efficient light bulbs, adding capacitors on big electricity drainers. They're installing motion sensors on lights that can be turned off at night, among other things. In terms of renewable energy, we saw many of our organizations talk about participating in the feed-in tariff program and looking at solar panels as part of the Green Energy Act. And I'll talk about that in just a minute when I get to one of our members that's actually doing that. So from there, I'll shift gears into our members and some of what we've seen them do over the past year. And I'll try to be fairly brief with each. First, I'll start with intermodal engineering, which is a good place to start given that we're going to have Steve speak in just a few. So intermodal is one of our gold pledging partners. They've committed to reduce their emissions by 100% over the next 10 years. Already in their first year as a member, they've moved into a LEED Platinum site in Kitchener, and they've reduced their emissions by 57 tons, which is a fantastic start. Veriform is also a gold pledging partner. They've committed to a 100% reduction as well over the next 10 years. Now, many have heard Paul's story already. He spoke at our launch event. Paul Rack was also in that blurb we just heard from. They've, in these 42 projects, had a payback period of 6.2 months and average annual savings of $92,000 per year. In that time, here, the graph is on the slide behind me, they've reduced their emissions by over 100 tons